Yours may be the second most beautiful, but I have the most beautiful kids in the world, and I should. That should be my perspective. But when it comes to my home, if I'm selling it, it's not a home. And I really want to share this with you at home, at your home, that when you're selling, it's now a house. And we cannot be personally attached because everybody thinks, yeah, I know that house down the street is almost identical, but they don't know what I've done to the garden of this home or so on and so forth. And so it's very hard to be objective, and that's why you need to have somebody come and do an analysis, stager, so on and so forth. If it's not selling in today's market, the last decade, there's really only one reason, three reasons I would say, again, or maybe perhaps two: presentation and pricing. Your price is too high.
That's right.
Right? And so I found that was the most challenging aspect of real estate, was to help. And I understand because I've sold homes and then I fall into that person who's subjective. So I totally understand. It's the hardest thing to do is to make someone be realistic, because really your house is worth what someone's willing to buy.
That's right.
Your thoughts, your thoughts there, yeah?
100%. So, I think part of our role is to educate the consumer, so to make sure, because if we set the bar too high and then they've got themselves, the seller's got their mindset conditioned a certain value or price, and it's not attainable, then we haven't done our job properly. So you also don't want to shortchange your clients. So you want to set, and there's no exact price, but there's a range of acceptability where the market's willing to accept or receive that property. And so our goal is also, as much as we market and dress it up, etc., pricing is a key piece of the equation as well.
That's right. No, absolutely. Mandeep, thank you for a call. I appreciate that. And of course, obviously, people are not going to come to Team McDadi if the success rate is not there. We're selling homes, right? And I think that's great. Let me talk to you a little bit about it. Like I said, if somebody is confident in their business, which I know you are, you do put the client first. Let's talk a little bit about commissions.
Sure.
A lot of people, there's a misunderstanding that I would have to try to educate people. Again, Sam and Olivia have a really bad habit. They need to eat, and I need to make my dollar. At the end of the day, when there's, I don't know. I mean, I know it's a lot less here in Peel region at times, but let's just arguably say 5% on a $400,000 house.
Right.
That's $20,000 plus HST.
Yes.
But RAV doesn't touch the HST.
Right.
Secondly, RAV gives, because over 99% of the homes, there's two agents involved.
Right.
So I'm giving $10,000 to somebody else. So now I've got 10 grand. From that 10 grand, I give 30% or 40% to the government. Yeah. So now I've got 6-7 grand. Yeah. Then I've got my broker's fees. Yeah. Then I want to spend money on staging. And so at the end of the day, on the average house of $400,000, I net maybe $3,000, $4,000.
Right.
30,000 realtors in the GTA.
Right.
90,000 transactions. Average real estate agent does 3 deals.
Right.
So I made 10 grand a year, like very few of us. What are your thoughts? I want to make sure that I'm not trying to protect the realtors, but I also want to educate. And I think that's been the problem. If people know what we have to offer, they're willing to say, I mean, people will pay a doctor and a lawyer and so on and so forth, not for task-oriented thing, but for their brain. Yeah. It's the same way.
So Rav, we talked about this before we came into the studio, but 20% of the realtors last year sold no houses, and 50% sold 6 or less houses. So a lot of realtors.
So 70% of realtors sold 6 or less houses.
So it's a really competitive market. And when you think about it, one of the first things we do when we meet with the seller is we want to also make sure they understand where their money is going. So if you walk in there and you don't have a value-added proposition, and you're just like, I want to charge you 5% and let's just put a sign on your lawn and that's all we're doing, then arguably the seller has a point, or, where's this money going to? But you're exactly right. You dissected the first half of that will, quite often go to another agent. So 2.5% or that 10,000 goes out to another agent, which is, that's what you have to pay the going rate. Yeah, yeah. And then from there, if you're going to start staging, marketing, and doing all the proper things, that's not, I can tell you running a business, it's not a cheap proposition. We invest hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars in marketing, in staging, all in the name of trying to get clients top dollars and doing the right thing. So, at the end, I think what happens is the sellers will reap the benefit, but they need to be educated to understand that, for our money, this is what we're going to get. And, for example, last week we just listed a property. It was listed with property guys / realty sellers. So they were on the market for 2 months. Yeah. It's basically, you go on the MLS, but you don't get any exposure. They said, Sam, we tried it for 2 months. It wasn't working. And so, we're prepared to pay proper fees to get the job done, right? So, and oftentimes our core business is people have had unsuccessful experience. Maybe they paid a slightly lower fee and they thought they could get it sold and they couldn't get the job done, or they botched the offer because they weren't trained or seasoned. So it's also how much you net the client. So if you can do a good job negotiating,
of course.
it's going to offset that additional,
huge.
commission fee structure. And I think it's really important in this day of age also to be, we have different plans and there's different fee structures available to sellers. So we're like, okay, if you want to pay a little less, we've got a plan or a menu that'll, fit your goals and objectives. But we want them to understand what we bring to the table.
Absolutely. And you have to be very careful that those I's are dotted and T's are crossed. This is the only trade of any kind where you need it to be on paper. I mean, we can trade anything, buy and sell anything you don't, but for contract, you